Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back. Unless you are new here, in that case, welcome for the first time. I like to make these little videos about films that I enjoy and want to share. Typically, it's about horror or maybe some forgotten 80s titles, but I do try to branch out and put in some other titles every now and then. However, for October, I am focusing just on horror or something that's horror adjacent. And for this video, I wanted to cover the 2008 film Repo, the Genetic Opera. And, here's why I'm kind of recommending this one as one to watch this weekend. So first off, this began years earlier as a stage performance, later a short film, and then eventually a feature film starring the likes of Paul Sorvino, who's been in several things throughout his career, Anthony Stewart Head, who I mainly know from Buffy the Vampire Slayer and an episode of Doctor Who, Alexa Pena-Vega, who I know from Spy Kids because they, watched a lot of Robert Rodriguez productions back in the day, and my son grew up watching Spy Kids. We get Bill Moseley, who's a horror icon at this point. He's been in tons of things such as the Firefly trilogy of Rob Zombie, as well as Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. And we have Paris Hilton. But don't worry, she's actually perfect for this role and she does a great job with it. But what is this film about? Well, the synopsis is as follows. A worldwide epidemic encourages a biotech company to launch an organ financing program similar in nature to a standard car loan. The repossession clause is a killer, however. So yeah, that repossession clause literally means they can repossess the organ even if you die in the process. So this one's definitely a strange one to describe to anybody who's not familiar with it, especially since there's some mix-up with some of the titles. So this one sometimes gets mixed up with Repo Man and Repo Men. And it's not related to either one of those. And on top of that, this could probably at best be described as a sci-fi horror rock musical. Yes, this one is a musical. We have several musical numbers throughout it. But on that alone, it should pique some interest to see just what the heck was put together and how it all turned out. Now, first up, we get this great opening that's animated in like a graphic novel style of format of presentation, with it transitioning from pain to pain as it fills us in about this organ failure epidemic and how GeneCo was able to, kind of create these organs, have a black market for it as well. I mean, they send out this Repo Man to, literally, they will rip out your spine if you are behind payments on your spine replacement. So throughout the film, we use the same format of those comic pains for a lot of flashbacks to kind of differentiate between what's a flashback and what's happening currently in the story. But it's also able to get us up to speed very quick, gets us to the point right there. So with that setup, a little bit more about the story here. We have this character played by Alexa Pena-Vega, who has a disease where she's not able to leave her room. She's very sick, always has to take her medicine. It's dangerous for her to be away, but as she's growing up, she's really feeling way too cut off and wants to just get out there and see the world. So she has this habit of kind of sneaking out. Now, along with that, the head of GeneCo, played by Paul Sorvino, has a history with her father and her deceased mother, and is kind of enticing her with a deal to help her kind of get better, that he has a cure for. Because his kids, who are played by Paris Hilton, Bill Moseley, and Ogre from Skinny Puppy, are just the worst. They are spoiled, violent, really corrupt. This is leading Sorvino to have, understandably, massive disappointment in them and doesn't know what he's going to do with his company down the line. Now, we also have this situation where we see our Repo Man repossessing organs in those violent and gruesome manners, along with seeing how strange this kind of futuristic world is that they've kind of built, about these organ transplants are now having kind of been expanded into doing cosmetic changes for people that they would finance as well. Now, in this story, we have company issues with GeneCo. We have seeing our Repo Man in action. Alexa Pena-Vega's character trying to live her life and get out into the world. Details about her family's history and involvement with GeneCo coming out in this. And it's all set as a rock musical. Now, also bringing us along in this ride, we have a character by the name of the Grave Robber, I believe, who works as kind of like our exposition. He's somebody who harvests certain things from the dead. So he speaks and sings this very direct narrative to what's going on in the story, kind of bringing us from one scene to another along the way, kind of holding our hand a little bit, so that with the flashbacks really keep us up to speed, and it moves at a very fast pace. So honestly, if you enjoy a film like The Rocky Horror Picture Show and you like horror and sci-fi, you will definitely enjoy this one. It's a very strange tale which also works in some comedy to go with the violence and some surprisingly heartfelt performances here and there. mixed in with the more comedic and violent aspects that they used in some of the other songs throughout this really twisted rock opera. But anyways, to wrap this one up, Repo the Genetic Opera, at the time of this video, is available for both paid rental and a few free services, such as on Voodoo, Pluto, and I think maybe Freebie might have it as well. So, check out that Just Watch app and see if it's currently on a service that you have access to if you're interested in checking it out, because it definitely is a fun one to check out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out my latest video and for sticking around to the end, as it really does help out quite a bit. Also, liking and subscribing helps, especially if you're not already subscribed. You might want to get in there, subscribe to see what I have coming down the line, and even visit some of the stuff in my back catalog, which now is nearing almost a 200 mark. So I think I should be hitting that 200 mark within the next couple of weeks. And I also have, like I said, a lot of other videos planned for this month and coming down the line. So thanks for coming by, and I will see you in the next one.